Hello everybody, welcome to Osprey Bucket. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and drop a like on this video. I'm trying to hit 100k by the end of the year. Serious subscription would seriously be much appreciated. Also drop a like. It only takes 1 second and makes a massive difference. I'm not going to edit that out. Today's video, I'm talking about Brook Lopez, who is someone that I have been super duper critical of over the past couple of NBA seasons. Pretty much ever since Brook Lopez's first year in Milwaukee, I've been of the opinion that the guy was quite overrated. His first year there, I think he very much lived up to the hype that people gave him, because if I'm not mistaken, his first year in Milwaukee was the year where the Bucks took a leap from a 6 seed team to a top seed team. And Brook Lopez being able to space the floor as a big man was a big part of that. And gradually, as the years went along, his role defensively became even more significant. He was pretty good initially, and then he's built himself up to being really a huge defensive asset for them and a foundational building block towards how their defense works. And the reason why I've been critical of him, however, has been that the team has, when the playoffs come around, pretty much always looked better with Giannis at center, without question. Not necessarily defensively. Sometimes there's a hit defensively because the defensive scheme the Bucks like to run is with Brook Lopez is really just the big body who's always hovering around the basket. He plays drop coverage, but he ultimately ensures that there's always a big dude under the rim who is capable of blocking the shot and capable of stopping another big dude from just easily getting in the paint. He almost functions defensively as guaranteed insurance that someone is going to be standing in front of the basket. Meanwhile, Giannis is more of a free-roaming guy who brings help defense all the time on the weak side. That's really his role. So you have both of those types of options as shot blockers and rim protectors. The big body that's always there, and the athletic guy who's running all over the floor but is athletic enough to recover and block a shot. That's really been the foundation of their defense over the past couple of years, and when they would go to a smaller ball lineup, they generally were not better defensively. But the offensive improvement was rather significant, purely based off of the fact that Brook Lopez has not been able to shoot the three the way that he did his first year there. So if I'm taking a look at his basketball reference, in the 3 seasons following his first one in Milwaukee, he shot 32% from 3 on 4.5 attempts, but his first season there, he shot 37% on 6 attempts. Did I say it was 4.4 attempts on 32%? I don't know if I said that correctly or not. This year, he's up to 5 attempts a game, shooting 40% from 3, and his shot blocking has been off of the charts. He is currently averaging a career high and a league high 2.9 blocks per game. So the role that he's always played as just this big body under the rim, he wouldn't always necessarily get blocks out of that. His first season in Milwaukee, he was up to 2. But then another thing about his defense is I think his defense did slowly start to fall off just at times, mostly due to injury, to be fair. But there were multiple instances where his slow-footedness was really getting exposed, and there were times where that small ball lineup was actually better defensively because everybody was versatile. Specifically, I'm thinking of the 2021 run when they had PJ Tucker, who they would play at small forward, and I think they'd run Pat Connaughton out there in that lineup, and that lineup was just so effective offensively because everyone was actually able to space the floor and not just in theory, because Brook Lopez was always a floor spacer in theory. And even if Brook Lopez was spacing the floor, he was getting in the way in the paint very often. So I still think that overall the Bucks can be a better offense without Brook Lopez, but the leap that he has taken to this year, which, by the way, mind you, I believe he's 34 years old? How old is Brook? He is 34. He is better than he was in 2018 with the Lakers when he was 29. So he has been the best I have seen him be since he's been in Milwaukee. He's up to 14.6 rebounds, again, 3 blocks, 40% from three, 48% from the field overall. I guess his 2-point percentage could be a little bit better, but, you know, he's playing defense, he's blocking shots like crazy, and he's also finally spacing the floor consistently again. So at this point, my grievances that had existed with Brook Lopez really can't exist anymore because his defense is the best I've seen it be, and his three ball is going in. So long as his three ball is going in and he's providing defense on this level, there's really no reason not to play him in a playoff setting. That's another thing that I would argue is that, like, yeah, regular season and in certain times in the playoffs, Brook Lopez is fine to even better than fine, but the playoffs come around and it's better to just run that smaller lineup. I think there's a huge chance that with how good Brook Lopez has been this year, that they would be better with him in than not. Better with him than that small ball lineup. At the very least, it will be viable enough that I don't think we're going to see Brook get like 15 minutes a game or whatever he did in the finals, because I think it might have been like 20, but like a huge minutes reduction because that small ball lineup was simply better. That objectively is what happened. So when the title says that like I'm wrong about Brook Lopez, it's not even really that I'm wrong. I was wrong then, but that he's simply exceeded what I believed him to be by a significant margin, to the point where I think he actually is effectively meeting what I feel like other people thought he was doing. Like, I say Brook Lopez was a three-point shooter in theory. That's something that irks me quite often when a player is like known as a shooter, but then you're like, well, where's the actual evidence of that? Because for those last 3 years, Brook Lopez was shooting 32% from three. On passable volume, but like that's not really a shooter. So the fact that he was a shooter in theory and people said he spaced the floor would annoy me because I would actively see him hurt their spacing, and defensively he just wasn't quite the same. But now at this point, yeah, Brook Lopez is awesome, and in fact, if we're just going objectively, who's been probably the best defender in the league this year, I honestly think Brook Lopez should be Defensive Player of the Year if the season ended right now. Ironically, it would probably be either him, Giannis, or Anthony Davis. I feel like Jared Allen should deserve a place in that conversation, but like him and Evan Mobley are both so impactful to defense, it feels hard to split between the two of them. Can they win co-defensive player of the year? Because like their team has the same defensive rating as the Bucks, so they should get just as much credit as a defensive backcourt as Giannis and Brook Lopez do. But I digress. Overall point, Brook Lopez has been awesome, and if he continues to play this way, I think that's a huge part of the reason why I think this Milwaukee Bucks team can be the best iteration of it that we have seen. That was my take in my video talking about why I believe the Bucks will win the championship. I said pretty plainly, like, we know what the Bucks system is supposed to be at this point, but they've always had those inconsistency issues. Even throughout their 2021 run, it really felt like there were two different Bucks teams, and sometimes the bad teams showed up, and it was really frustrating. And I don't mean to suggest that. Basically, what I'm saying is like when they underperformed, it was because they were just playing as differently. They went back to something that just wasn't working before. So now I feel like with Brook Lopez being what he is, he's much more consistent. I feel like Drew Holiday has calmed down a little bit with his crazy shot selection, and that will especially come true as Chris Middleton gets acclimated more and more into the offense since he's been coming back. But with Brook Lopez being Brook Lopez, Middleton and Drew, I think, being at their best, and Giannis probably being at his best too, I don't see why this can't be the best iteration of that Bucks team. And Brook Lopez is a huge reason why, because he provides that step up into him actually being what I think people always claimed him to be. Now he actually is a sniper that also will block the shit out of some players multiple times. So yeah, there's my thoughts on Brook Lopez. I've been asked to talk about him, and it's really not a main channel topic. But yeah, Brook Lopez is quite good this year. There's no denying it.